So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our virtual class in the Strategic Cost Management course. For our topic, we will be discussing activity-based costing. Before we formally start, let me just show you some outline of our objectives. It says here, at the end of this session, you, the students, will be able to number one, understand activity-based costing. Number two, differentiate between activity-based costing and traditional costing. Third, you will also be able to identify the levels of activities in activity-based costing. And lastly, you will be able to compute overhead costs under activity-based costing. As defined by the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, it says here that activity-based costing is an approach to the costing and monitoring of activities which involves tracing resource consumption and costing final outputs. Resources are assigned to activities and activities to cost objects based on consumption estimates. So the latter, which is the objects based on consumption estimates, the latter utilize cost drivers to attach activity cost to output, so output based. ABC, or the activity based costing, is mainly focused on highly automated manufacturing industry, where technological intensive companies had diminished the use of direct labor since products are produced in a manner where computer driven processes are being incorporated, thus generating a significant amount of overhead cost. So, with the introduction of highly automated manufacturing processes, so na-replace ngayon yung manual direct labor ng machine. Pero, meron din siya tinatawag na overhead cost. Hindi lang siya labor cost in terms of labor, manual labor, but also overhead cost in terms of the machine hourly rate. Consequently, instead of allocating overhead costs to a single volume measure or its cost drivers, activity-based costing assigns costs to the activities. So ang focus nito sa activities that are the real source of the overhead. Then assign the cost of those activities only to the products that actually gone through from those activities. So later on, we will apply this in a real case scenario. So if I may just say that this PowerPoint presentation are just from your modules. I hope you have already read the modules. Kaya lang naniniwala rin ako na kapag tayo nagre-read, minsan binibilisan lang natin ang pagbabasa and we lost track of the idea. So kaya dinadahan-dahanan ko ang basa para maunti-unti natin, mahimay-himay natin so that we understand it before we apply it. So to continue, both the activity-based costing and traditional costing are being used in allocating the overhead cost to the products manufactured. So basically, there is traditional, and then this is activity-based costing. Both of these methods use a cost driver to estimate the overhead rate. However, in traditional costing, overhead costs are being assigned based on a predetermined rate that was calculated using a single volume of measure like the direct labor hours and machine hours. On the contrary, activity-based costing assigns overhead to products produced on a basis of usage of activities during the production process like purchase order activities, machine setups, and other activities that are required to complete the manufacturing process. So dito, dinidivide-divide daw yung costing based on the related activity. So if we have this one product, it undergoes different processes. Kahit isang product yun, ina-assign natin yung kanyang appropriate and relative cost dun sa activity na yun. So there are levels of activities in ABC. ABC, when I say ABC, this is activity-based costing. If a company opts to use the activity-based costing in allocating their overhead costs, those companies must first classify at which level of activities costs were incurred. Accordingly, under activity-based costing, there are four levels of activity, namely, number one, unit level. So, per item, per unit, one product. Batch level activity, batch groupings, grouping of similar activities, I mean at similar products, product or process level activity, and organizational level activity. So when we say unit level activity, sabi dito, this level of activity occurs every time a product is made. Hence, costs are being incurred for each unit produced. So costs of direct materials and direct labor are the common unit level activities. Batch level. In this level, costs are incurred evenly for every group or batch of products that are produced. For instance, purchase orders, number of machine setups, etc. Product or process level activity. If costs are driven by the development, innovation, and marketing the product, as well as equipment maintenance, such costs are incurred in the process level activity since these activities are carried out notwithstanding how many batches or units of products are produced. Lastly, organizational level activity. Ibig sabihin naman ito, costs that are incurred in this level ay driven by supporting the operations such as the corporate administration, depreciation of building used by the administration department, wages, company-wide advertising. So itong mga ito, hindi na ito direct cost. So indirect cost. Costs under this level are always classified as part of period costs rather than product cost. So ano nga ba yung apat na iyon? Unit level, batch level, product or process activity level, and this organizational level. Now, we go to our illustrative problem. Before we solve this problem, let us first understand ano ba yung question, ano ba yung case, ano ba yung problem. Okay, basahin natin. XYZ Furniture Manufacturing Company produces three types of sofas: leather sofa, sleeper sofa, and chaises. Alam niyo yung leather sofa. So pag sinabi ng leather sofa, ang material na ginamit, leather. Sleeper sofa, ito naman yung mga, alam niyo yung sofa beds. Yan yon. So sleeper sofas. So convertible. Pwede siyang sofa in the morning, bed sa gabi. So ang tawag sa kanya, sleeper sofa. And last, chaises. Ano ba itong chaises? Ito yung parang bench na may isang armrest. Nakikita niyo yun, chaises na may isang armrest or para siyang yung sa beach yung ginagamit nyo. Basta hindi siya sofa, hindi siya bed, pero para siyang sofa na maliit. I will just show you examples. But the thing is, the company manufactures these three types of sofas. The company uses traditional overhead allocation and assigns overhead to products at 30 per direct labor hour. The cost per unit for each category of the product are as follows. Ayan. So since tatlong sofa, tatlo rin ang kanyang costing. So the second column is the leather sofa, chaises, second, and sleeper sofa. Under the cost, we have direct material, direct labor, and overhead. So when I say direct material, yan yung mga raw materials. Yung leather, yung kahoy na ginamit, yung foam, etc. So direct material. Direct labor, we understand direct labor. Yung mga manggagawa, yung mga furniture assembler, furniture creator, ano ba tawag sa nila? Basta yung gumagawa ng mga sopa, direct labor. Ang overhead, pwedeng materials and labor na indirect. Katulad nga na sinabi kanina, administrative and management, advertising, yan yun. So for leather sofa, it has been computed traditional allocation 24 pesos ang direct material, 36 ang labor, overhead 48 for 108 traditional cost. Chases naman 240 ang direct material, direct labor is 270 and overhead 360. Medyo ito yung medyo mataas na klase. Sleeper sofas, 24 direct material, direct labor 90, and overhead 120. So, as subtotals, 108 for a leather sofa, 870 cost for cheeses, and 234 for sleeper sofas. So now we understand this given. Because goal of profitability is not being achieved and strong competition in the market, XYZ Furniture Manufacturing Company is considering adopting the activity-based costing. So makikita natin later on because we will apply kung paano ba gamitin ang activity-based costing. And we will see the difference between the traditional and the activity-based costing. In analyzing its cost data, it has been determined that 36 million of the overhead costs incurred during the period could be assigned to the following activities. Remember, pag activity-based costing, we identify the activities that affects the production of the product. So namely, quality control. Siyempre, ang products mo dapat will undergo quality. So after production, so dyan yung papasok yung quality. Setups, setting up of the equipment, all setups, material handling, and equipment operation. Lahat yan, 36,000, ito ang kanilang distribution. The management of the company has also determined the following allocation basis. So sinabi natin na yung activity, quality control, setups, material handling, and equipment. Now, how to base our allocation? Siyempre, kapag quality, the number of units produced. So, ilan ba yung number of units na produce? Sa setups, ilan ba ang number of setups? Material handling, pounds of material used. So, in terms of pounds or weight, kilos of material used. So, siguro kilo-kilo ang kanilang materials. Equipment operation, number of machine hours. So ito yung 4 activities and ito yung allocation base. Now, kapag ready na ito, we can now continue. Okay. Moreover, volumes of measurement for each allocation base that can be used for the integration of ABC are as follows. So na-identify na rin natin. Ilan ba ang number of units produced? Sa leather sofa, 600,000. Sa chases, 60,000. Sa sleeper sofas, 180,000. So mas marami tayong leather sofa na nagawa. Pinaka-konti chases kasi mahal siya. And then, sleeper sofas, siya yung gitna. In terms of number of setups, 1,200, 26, tsaka 22. Pounds of material use, 2,400,000 para sa leather sofa, 6 million sa chases, 3.6 sa sleeper sofas. And the number of machine hours are given, 1,200,000 for the leather sofa, 2,200,000, and 2.6 million sa sleeper sofas. Moreover, volume of measurements for each allocation base that can be used for integration. So, ito na nga yun. So, ang required, prepare a comparative illustration of overhead allocation under traditional and activity-based costing. So ang gagawin natin, i-compare natin kung ano ba ang allocation under traditional and activity-based costing. Okay. So ito lang, nilipat ko lang sa Excel file. I use Excel file para mas madali tayong mag-compute. So basically, this is our given. Direct material, leather sofa. Ito yung traditional. Ito yung kanilang traditional allocation. So, total 108. O ba't 650 ng 800 kanina to? Let me just check, ha? Oh, sorry, 240. Kasi 200 is 240. So, it's 70. Okay. So, ito rin yung ating activity at yung ito yung total allocation at yung total cost, di ba? 36 million. So, we have 4 activities, we have the allocation base, and we have the total cost. So, determine the allocation base o given na yan. Ang second step is to determine the cost object and its associated activity. So given na rin to, di ba? 600 ang material, ang number of units produced, 600,000, 60 and 180,000. Yan. So get the total volume of activities. So we just add the total volume. So for activity quality control, let us just add leather sofa. Ayan. So equals F plus G plus H. So ito yung tatlo, di ba? Leather sofa, chases, sleeper sofa. Then 840,000 total volume. Number of setups. Again, we do the same. We add leather sofa plus this and this. Oh, sorry, and that. So 6,000. We do the same. Are you following? Yan. And then, so get the total volume. So ito na yan, total volume na yan. So we now get the step 4, divide the total cost incurred in each activity by the total volume of activities to get the overhead cost per unit. So overhead cost, as may total cost, ito 1.2 million. Ito yung number of units produced. Therefore, equals total cost divided by total volume. Therefore, for quality process, quality control, each unit is worth 1 peso and 50 centavos. We also do the same for the rest. Just copy and we just paste the formulas. Yan. So gawin na lang natin dito. There. So for the next activity, which is setups, so 200 peso per setup. 30 centavos per pound yung material na ginamit, 30 centavos. And for 4.99 per machine hours. So this is already our costing per unit. Then we have to assign activity costs to each unit produced. So kanina kinuha natin yung total. Ngayon, so volume times overhead cost per unit. So how much is, ano ba ang gagawin nating volume? So equals, magkano ba yung volume? Ito yun, di ba? Volume times 1.5. So, ano to? Equals this one times 1.5. So, ayun yun. Ito yun. Oh. Nakuha yun. Volume times the data natin. Yan. Times 1.5. Ito naman equals ito, volume times 200. Sorry. So, anong susunod nating i-multiply? We multiply this 2.4 times 0.3. So, ang lalabas dyan ay 720,000. And last, we multiply this 1,2 by this one. Then, nakuha na natin ang total allocated overhead for leather sofa. Now, we compute now for the chases times the overhead cost. So, 60,000 times 1.5, that is how much? That is 90,000. And continuing, 2,600 times 200, that is 520,000. 6 million times 0.3 is 1.8. And lastly, 2.2 million times 4.91 is 10,978,000 for a total overhead, allocated overhead cost of 13,000. Sorry, 13 million. And lastly, sleeper sofas. So 180 times 1.5, 2,000, 200 times 200, that will be 440,000. 3.6 million times 0.3, 1,000,008. And lastly, equipment operation for sleeper sofas, that is 26 million times 4.9. There. So 7 million, 11 million, at 13 million, and 14. So we divide it by the number of units produced. Ilan ba ang number of units produced? Yan. Di ba ito rin? So divided by, so ito ay ilan? 600,000. Therefore, sa leather sofa, 13.08. Ito, ilan ang number of units produced? 60,000. Therefore, 13.8 million divided by 60 is 223. And lastly, this is how much? 180,000. Ito, number of units produced, 82. So now, we have already identified 13.08, 223, and 13. All we have to do is compare them. So, for activity-based, direct material is how much? So, leather sofa, because we're only talking for overhead costs, direct material and direct labor are the same. So the overhead now for activity-based, the overhead for this is for traditional. And for this, the overhead is 13.08. Ito. 223.13 and, sorry, 223.13 and 82.02. Now you can see the difference, 73 compared to 108. se- 73,733 to 870, 196 to 234. So this is the comparison.